Bernie Meisner hasn't driven the cars since France, several months ago. He's eager to see how the cars improved since. In earlier models, the engines began failing, high in the mountains. But even though the cars climbed quickly through the blistering heat, the engines continued to purr along. Meisner is happy to see that things have been fixed. The hard work is paying off. The new sports car is improving. They decide to push the E63 even harder.
The whole question of engine power was the reason we took another trip to Dante's Peak. There, the incline is even a bit steeper and makes even greater demands on the motor. And when the motor passed that test just as easily, we decided to top off the trip by sitting down and enjoying the view.
Not all of the testing is done on fully built prototypes. When it comes to the aluminum front axle, the testing begins on the computer. Weaknesses have been found in the axle that the engineers need to iron out. Their designs become real-life parts that are put under stress in the lab. But when the engineers want to put the axle and chassis through the grind, another vehicle takes the road. One that is definitely not coming to a dealership near you.
Of course, we want to subject the car to the highest possible stress, but the main thing is that the data remain consistent throughout the 3 rounds of tests that we drive. That's what's most important.
Other last-minute changes are being made to the new sports car that will help drivers see more clearly than ever before. South Africa. The BMW engineers and technicians working here don't have any time to enjoy the scenery. They've got an important deadline to meet. They must prepare a whole fleet of prototypes of the company's new sports car. Senior executives are on their way. They want to see firsthand if the years of work and millions of dollars that have been spent so far have been worth it. Before they come, all the problems need to be ironed out. Each new sports car must be perfect. Each one of the E63s are cleaned and polished. Every detail examined.
Everything was planned like a military operation. The right test stretch had to be chosen. The traffic conditions have to be right. They have to fit the cars.
With just a couple of months left, the pressure is building.
We never talk about the things that function well. It's always the things that don't work. There's a lot of work left, but it just has to be done.
Today was a typical testing day. We drove around 400 kilometers. We were able to drive all the cars long enough to be able to assess them. What we were really trying to achieve today was to experience and evaluate the agility, dynamics, and rigidity.
The senior executives are impressed, but not completely happy.
It has a number of strong points, but a couple of weak points as well. The time frame is narrow, but we never have much time. If we did, maybe it wouldn't be as exciting. We have to get things done on time, and we will.
7:30 a.m. at the Research and Engineering Center in Munich. All the changes to the new sports car that are being made here must also be made to the cars being tested in the field.
We start having test drives very early on. The one priority is to distribute the few prototypes we have among those people who need them, while at the same time making sure that the test drivers have the most up-to-date version of the car. Both the drivers and the engineers want the most recent version to be in use.
Hat der Erprober natürlich auch Interesse, die aktuellsten Teile dann auch auf der ganzen Welt im Einsatz zu wissen. In diesen Runden findet
These discussions are naturally always a struggle. Can a new component still be fitted in? Will we have to delay a test in order to do so? You constantly have to weigh the different priorities, and you have to do so as early as possible in order to have the maximum amount of time for testing. On the other hand, you have to be as close as possible to the current state of construction. The closer we get to mass production, the more important it is not to lose a single day. That means that test results have to be made part of the construction as quickly as possible. It's a bit like a ping pong game. As soon as the test results force us to make a change, then that change itself has to be tested.
One of the most dramatic advancements in the new BMW is right up front. Headlights now are 20 times brighter than they were just a few decades ago. The technology has moved from old-fashioned light bulbs to halogens to lamps using xenon gas. To make the new E63 look different from any other car, even in the dark, the developers pushed the limits of design here too. Rings of fiberglass cable surround each headlight. For decades, headlights have remained fixed, staring straight ahead. But that's changing. These headlights move with the car. In a specially designed light tunnel, engineers test standard settings for the so-called curve light. Their goal? The greatest possible range without blinding oncoming traffic. The curve light functions together with the steering wheel. Depending how hard the driver turns and the speed of the car, the headlights point in the direction of the curve. It's not the only thing that's different about this car's steering wheel. In the E63, the steering action changes with the car's speed. In the past, drivers had to turn the wheel harder when driving at low or medium speeds. With the new car's active steering, the E63 will turn more with smaller movements of the steering wheel. It's new technology that the engineers continue tinkering with. Another innovation in the new model is also getting last-minute tweaks. The heads-up display allows some information to be seen very easily. Using a system of mirrors, speed and direction are projected on the windshield, but the angle has to be just right. The display is evaluated during numerous test drives. The information has to be seen just above the front edge of the hood. It's the only way to provide a consistent background for the driver to see the image. Each new test drive is recorded from 5 separate angles. There can't be the least bit of distortion. The brightness and contrast have to be perfect. On the E63's tour of the world, there's one more stop to be made. After the cold and the heat, BMW wants to see how the car will perform in one of the most hostile environments yet, the big city. BMW's new sports car is about to take one of its last test drives. After the ice and desert, the car must clear one final series of hurdles in a very unforgiving environment.
The program in Japan was also a heat test because of the climatic conditions and temperatures in Tokyo, and especially because of the stop-and-go traffic. You can spend 7.5 hours in Tokyo traffic and only have driven 140 kilometers. These extreme conditions naturally affect the fluids, motor oil, motor cooling, and air conditioning. But a car has to be able to stand up to conditions like that. Japanese drivers also want to be able to use their cars without a lot of stress and mechanical breakdowns. And so, naturally, we had to test the car under those conditions.
This model is one of the first prototypes with the steering wheel on the right. But it's not the only nod to local customs. When the tank gets low, the test drivers pull in for a fill-up. It's important to know how the new E63 will deal with high-octane Japanese gas. There are other peculiarities that have to be tested here too.
In Japan, when cars get unloaded from their ships, they first have to be brought to the auto dealers. For this, there are these special Japanese auto transporters. And so, if you have a prototype with the original chassis and the right dimensions, and you can get a chance to make a test with one of these transporters, you take it. Simulation is one thing, but practical experience is another.
It's a simple test, but it would be a huge embarrassment if the cars failed. Meisner is now confident that when they're finally built, these new models can easily be rolled across Japan.
The contacts with our foreign colleagues have been splendid. Sometimes it's a real pleasure working in Japan. Occasionally you can go out in the evening and talk about something besides work.
The drivers have logged thousands and thousands of kilometers. Changes have been made throughout the car. But the time is coming when other people will drive the car. Not the engineers and experts inside the company, but consumers around the world. A cutoff date for changes has been picked.
The closer we get to mass production, I wouldn't say we actually get hectic, but the tension does increase. Sometimes you just can't sleep because you know that some little detail that might turn up suddenly could delay the market launch by weeks or months. Everybody is working as hard as if it were just before the Olympics or the Soccer World Championships.
Any mistake that isn't caught now will be repeated thousands of times in every single car that's made. Millions of dollars are at stake as the factories gear up for mass production. Even with all the hours spent, the time, money, and dedication, there's no guarantee this new car will be a success.
Cars like this are really one-time chances to launch a whole new sport coupe into the world. You wish like any child, you wish it well. You know, you want to have success in life, or he or she, and you know, get married, have kids, everything, right? It should be nice. Same with this. Wish it a happy family, and people are happy with it. And you look it on the road, God, that looks guile, that's cool. All designers want that.
The new sports car is about to take its place in the history of BMW. But no one, from designers to engineers, can predict what will happen next.